Delivery management is set up as a directive PMO under the PMI definitions. And what that means is we have full accountability for the delivery of the work and the leadership of the workforce that undertake the capital program. So in this sense, the project managers are part of the PMO, so they're not a separate entity, so they coordinate and lead all of the activities. So we really do look at it as being project manager and project centric. As a group, through the asset creation process, we deliver something like 1,500 projects are in flight at any one particular time. So delivery management's task, therefore, is to design, construct and then commission projects with an intent that maintains its connection through to the overall business strategy. The challenge that we see is that, as a city, Sydney is growing and it's growing really rapidly. About an extra 1.5 million people are going to be moving into Sydney over the next decade. And so to cope with, 150,000 new customers per year is a huge challenge and a stretch on not just the resources of our business, but also the supply chain. As a part of a view in terms of how to cope with that huge increase in work, we've seen over the last 5 years, the scale of the capital program has grown from the team delivering something like $250 to $300 million a year to this year delivering $700 million. And to next year, we're looking at over $1 billion worth of infrastructure. So it's been a huge ramp up in terms of the work. Delivery management has been on a journey since 2013.
I remember when I said to Mark, you don't really want to do a survey, do you? I think we know the answer. Let's just start working together and fix this. And he said, no, I want to do a survey because not everyone really understands the state of play, the state of the relationship. So I want to do a survey and get that feedback and start that as a cadence so we can watch ourselves move. But first I've got to convince everyone that there's a problem. So we did a survey and it was 5% of the respondents said that the delivery management were doing an okay job. And most of the others were, I don't want them on site again and can we find somewhere else? And it was quite a fractured relationship.
We have definitely been on a massive journey. I know that if you go back, say, 3 years, we did not have Power BI dashboards. So the review side of things was very basic. It was effectively spreadsheets, which were never really that good an option to begin with. Everything was very personalized to the project manager. So we would have issues whereby if you had a project manager delivering a project and he had all of his correspondence and all of his manual workflow tasks were sitting in his inbox, when he left, you would lose a lot of that information. And the next project manager was obviously going to struggle to get on top of the project. So
we started that off in 2013 with the Enable and Optimize initiative. And basically, we looked to initially stabilize the team and then align the team in terms of understanding the business, the processes that we have in place, and really start to prepare the business for the change that's to come. We made sure that there was a strong alignment with SydWater's objectives, and we looked to embed a new organisation structure within the PMO, a program office, whereby we established a centre of excellence. And the Centre of Excellence for providing all of the service and the support that's required for the project managers to perform as a function. The next step was to enable and optimise. So we really did work on the uplift of our people capability. So a lot of effort went into clarifying the roles, not only for the PMs and the PEs, but for the full Centre of Excellence. We did work to get the team organisation and roles in place that really supported our overall project delivery methodology. So we really worked hard to define the business processes over this time and get in place a management system that would effectively support how project delivery operates. So, a great deal of effort was put into training the guys in terms of a lot of them were accidental project managers, and we wanted to take these guys through to developing themselves as a project manager and leadership cohort. And a lot of the training took the point of not only having our existing business processes and following quite a standard approach, we took a way to try and make it dynamic and interesting. So a lot of gamification. So, for example, we conducted an exercise called the Battle, and which basically took all of the teams through to try and educate them in terms of what it means to be, instead of being a project manager that does everything, how do you understand that you need to lean out and reach out and engage a wider team? The comms person does the comms, the procurement person does the procurement, and really create an environment like that. So the Battle was a terrific example of how that really engaged and took the team through in a new way of working.
I guess the most outstanding aspects of the journey that delivery management has been through over the last, since 2013, is the wonderful way that the people have evolved and the business has changed. To see a lot of our employees that were very fixed and I guess change fatigued, shall we say, and seeing how with our different innovative ways of creating the change and training up our new people as well as a lot of our existing ones, it's been amazing to see the evolution and the change in the business.
We also worked for towards the end of 2018 on leadership development. So we really wanted to be able to see how the team leaders, once we had the structure in place and the right commercial framework, we wanted to help our leaders in terms of being able to take their people through what is a new period of change and an advance in how we're operating. So again, leadership development for project managers and senior leaders has really aligned the culture. And again, allowed them to give them the tools and the capability and I think the confidence to be able to lead their teams through what is an intense period of change. Because all of this over the last 5 years has been a continual change. There's no chance that it's sat and waited to see how things are running. Is always a constant development. So there's something continually looking over the horizon. And all the team members are thinking about how can we advance, how can we develop and take things forwards.
And having a look at the wide interest that has created within industry is absolutely amazing to see how many people do actually want to come and work with SydWater and delivery management now. It's absolutely fantastic. Comments also like from individuals, for example, that were, very negative and hesitant previously to see how they've come on board. And it's kind of like an aha moment as well when they actually acknowledge and say, what you've done is actually not too bad. How do we do it?
And then the final part has been recently in 2019, going into this year, has been about the extension. So we've really we're moving away from the focus on internal improvement because we feel that's going very, very well. And we're really looking at the external focus. And how we're going to be partnering with the supply chain at a much greater level, really getting integrated teams to come and work together and make sure that the supply chain is an integral part of our delivery.
So the level of maturity keeps growing and they keep working on it and we keep working on it together. And the goals have been set in terms of cost to serve, looking after customers, quality, relationships at each site. A successful project isn't one where you've just delivered the stuff. It's actually one where it's been sustained positive relationships. Both sides of the party see and feel that they've done a great job. The cost of the job was delivered as planned or better, and the quality is fantastic. And we're ready to do the next one in a positive way. We're certainly up towards that end of the spectrum now, which has been a long journey, a difficult one, but we're in a much better place than we were, of course.
So the way we structure delivery management, it basically has our project managers in their regionally based groups, so north, south and west, and then we have what we call our centre of excellence, which is basically all the supporting functions that support the project managers in delivering their works in a matrix type of a structure. It has proven to be a very sophisticated way of having subject matter experts focusing on their tasks that they're good on and repeating their tasks in a repeatable manner. This also allows us to to continually improve and identify improvements when you have very specific, I guess, functional teams focusing on what they're actually experts in. So in the matrix type of a structure, whereas previously we had project managers being schedulers, estimators, and they were doing a little bit of contract management, they were doing a bit of comms themselves, and they were jack of all trade. We've actually removed those functional SMEs and components out of their works and getting them to focus purely on that project management perspective. Allowing them to get assistance from a lot of the SMEs in that centre of excellence, that again was a cultural shift, because a lot of our guys saw that a little bit of uncomfortable power loss. It was something that they had total control of and they did, and now somebody else is doing that aspect of their work. That came together with, I guess, a bit of planning, but also a bit of time and a bit of luck. So from a planning perspective, the way that we developed our MOS, and we created service level agreements between all of the functional SME areas and the project managers. So the project managers were very, very clear and assured on what they were going to get delivered by when. So they weren't going to be delayed, for example, by the estimator not creating their estimate on time. And then we actually tracked and managed our individuals to those SLAs. So on a monthly basis, we would know how many of our people were meeting their targets and the deliverables that, for example, the project managers were expecting. So I guess after a little bit of while, that gave the project managers assurance that, hold on a second, this could actually work. Because, our friends that are sitting next to us now are delivering what they say they're going to deliver. They amazingly have a greater capability and capacity to deliver it, because that is what they're focusing on. They're giving us ideas of improvements along the way of how we can do things better to the way we were doing it. And they're getting monitored that they are delivering the quality and they're delivering to time. So it started building that confidence and assurance and tighter relationships across this matrix structure with the project managers and the Centre of Excellence functions as we moved along.
Everyone in the Centre of Excellence recognised what they needed to do to make project delivery successful. The schedulers would have a plan about how quickly they needed to be able to review, the level of accuracy that they needed to put into any review of projects, how they would work to support project managers in terms of reviewing contractual deliverables. The estimating team, they would know, because everything's built into a prime schedule, so that everything runs off a core schedule for the team. Every team member and Centre of Excellence team member know when they're expected to go and do their piece of work. So estimators know when they've got a big bulk and a large project coming up, they know to be prepared and ready to go and undertake that work. And that means they can then stick to their service level agreement of turning around estimates within a certain level of accuracy and within a certain timescale. So it really did tighten up.
The other interesting aspect of the way that we're structured is the regional structure that we have. So one of the other challenges, I guess, in my role is, I had, for example, a safety team in the south, a safety team in the north, and a safety team in the west. And it was eliminating what I used to say to my staff is, I don't want you to go native. So it was, how do we gain that consistency? How do we actually pull those regions together and gain consistency across all three? By no means did we want to clone all three, and by no means did we want to hinder progress and innovation. But the beauty of what we actually saw started happening within the teams is they started sharing. So, for example, if the South developed something that was helping their safety stats and improving the well-being of their people, then we had the opportunity to bring the team back together to the central hub and actually share that learning and actually include the other two regions and uplift them in those areas.
So the delivery management structure really does have a high-performance culture built into it. So there is a passion and desire in terms of how the team operates and work. But it's very collaborative. So it's not just an owner team sitting there dictating how things should operate. We're working really closely with the supply chain. And so suppliers, consultants and contractors are embedded with us to work in a true spirit of open collaboration and cooperation. in terms of our business operation, our asset creation process, we took an approach to project delivery that really did align to what we considered to be best practice was PMBOK. So that's the core fundamental of how our project delivery process is in place. When it comes down to estimating, again, the RICS and Australian Institute of Quantity Surveying, we take those sort of approaches, and we really do engage heavily with external professional bodies to try to see where latest trends and latest developments are, and to make sure that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, that we're actually trying to utilise best practice opportunities that are out there and embed those into our organisation. So whether it be how you do estimating, whether it be how you undertake your procurement exercise, whether it's the project delivery processes that we use, or where we're going to now in terms of engaging with our customers.
For instance, SydWater Delivery Portal, it's one of our primary systems that we use. We use that as a project management tool. So people log in, log on every day to check on all the work. It has a lot of functionality, such as raising site diaries, issue a work to proceed form whenever a mobilization is required. So that sort of ties into the process that we have in Helix. It's just a checkpoint, making sure the PM is doing the right thing at the right time.
I'd have to say that the thing that I'm most proud of is that end-to-end solidification of process right through to the applications and the workflows that we've created from first principles to get our people through those processes as accurately and effectively and as transparently as possible, right through to that the amazing visibility via our Power BI dashboards that just gives management that ability to make those educated decisions.
Basically, we're using Primavera P6 EPPM and P6 Professional in order to perform our project management functionalities. And it is across capital infrastructure projects within SydWater. Scheduling team is a function within delivery management, which is going beyond delivery management, and we expanded our services to the wider group as well. That helps us to ensure we cover the project throughout their life cycle, right from when they're incepted as a candidate throughout the various stage gate raises in asset creation process. So we have developed a document that we call it schedule requirement. That helps us to ensure that we have got a consistency across our supply chain, and also we ensure that we standardize our requirements so our contractors very well know what we expect from them in terms of the program and the schedule. And we make sure that we review the program consistently across different portfolios and also across different regions that we have got. We have also resource and cost loaded our schedule, which has lifted Primavera P6 to an enterprise system and solution for resource demand planning. We have used Power BI in order to plot the resource requirements, and then we brought in the estimate to complete of the project from P6. And also we have topped that one up with our capital infrastructure and capital investment program figures. So the combination of all this enables us to look into the resource requirements with respect and taking account of the money that we have got. And if required, then we can go back and adjust our resource demand requirements based on what fund we have got in our hand so we can invest on the projects.
We being in the estimation, and we will price job in such a way so that it is it's appropriately priced, having a market coverage, and it gives a confidence to SydWater and the stakeholder. And when the project is being built, it will be within the budget and within the time frame, and that is the optimized costing what we are doing, allowing various factors of safety and environment also, and the community consideration. We have got estimation manual and the processes in place in the Helix, and we try to adhere to that. and we have got a couple of hold points where we do the costing. We incorporate all the necessary information before we kicking off the costing, and we involve the expert stakeholders or resources within the organization to have their views in the costing, like as per example, the construction methodology that we used to consult project engineer or even design engineers and at times construction superintendent. Those people are absolutely on a site, and that helps us a lot to provide us appropriately costing. And the estimation will be more finer and is pretty much more likely scenario. That's what we try to do that. We involve other stakeholders like comms, like enviro guys, like construction design engineers, project managers, and that will help us a lot. And that will be challenged from various angles. Being an estimator, I don't know the site reality of enviro or the comms issues. So they will come out with that, and they will flag up their points, and that will incorporate into risk register. And that could be an opportunity also. So it's not only the risk, there could be an opportunity. So if we capture that and we run through Monte Carlo at risk model, and we'll come out with P50, P80 numbers. And that's again, the numbers goes to the stakeholders. They will again review. Again, if required, we will have the second round of workshop. And that's how the risk and opportunity is captured very well and pretty much in depth.
For us, best practice means we have become really efficient in terms of how we do things. We've become very much more collaborative, and we've become a lot more transparent. So what that means is, from an efficiency perspective, we've moved a lot towards direct negotiations. So that for us, from a procurement perspective, cuts out a lot of time in terms of tendering and not having to go to the market each time. We've become collaborative. We've got an integrated team. We have a team that sits in along with the rest of delivery management, and we work together. We are on the same floor. We can talk to each other. We can just go around and have a chat if we need to get things resolved. We take NEC4 allows for a much more collaborative approach. You can sit down, you can have a discussion, you can decide how it goes. And because it's been written in plain English, people who wrote it know how it was written. The second thing in those contracts is that they are flexible. So the scope of a project changes, you change the contract. If you need more time to do a project, you change the contract as you go along. Other contracts like the GC21 or the FIDIC don't really give you that sort of ability to vary the contract as you go along, and for it to be done by the project managers.
So that data is all captured within SW Delivery Portal, and then the raw data itself is exported into our Power BI reports. And from there, you can get that macro level understanding at a glance of which contractors are performing better or worse, knowing the breakup of, how much of their incidents are health and safety versus environment versus community relations, quality, etc. We've got about 10 different categories for which we assess those report actions. And so from there, you can zoom right in. So if you wanted to focus on just one contractor or one type of incident over all of our contractors, you can then consider, okay, what is our highest health and safety incident that keeps occurring? And then focus our attention on that.
Continuous improvement mechanisms will build into this as well. So the plan, do, check, act approach. Checkpoints will build into the service level agreements. So again, so we can monitor and see where tweaks need to be made in our process and in terms of how the teams are operating. If project managers are seeing concerns or issues, they can raise that effectively with the leaders of the teams, and they can work on how their teams are functioning. So it's really been useful in terms of being able to create an open environment where there can be some really good, robust, but I think clear discussions about how things can be improved without people feeling offended or being feeling too challenged. It's about an area where we can all see openly about how things are performing and whether we all need to work together to take things forwards.
So I think for us, it puts a framework around how we operate. So We might implement a new workflow, and then perhaps 2 years down the track, we find that the business has evolved and we might need to change that slightly. So that is part of the way that we operate. We will have a review on whether it be types of inspections that we perform, or how a specific workflow functions. We'll try and evolve that in line with how the business is operating.
The MOS has that inbuilt cycle of renewal within it. So as we said, it's the plan, resource, do, review and act cycle. So if we weren't consistently getting to that review and then act on the learnings, we probably wouldn't have reached this level of best practice, and we probably wouldn't have that driver to continue to try new things.
So innovation is something that's really key to us not only being able to perform effectively and to be an efficient and effective delivery organisation, but it's also something that maintains a level of excitement and engagement through the team. Innovations, quite often they can be either centre-led or dictated, but we like to create an environment where everyone's got the opportunity to think, where something could change or something could be made better, and they get the opportunity to feed that back in.
Breaking up our structure in the regional format and also the Centre of Excellence matrix structure over the last, few years has proved to be a lot more innovative, a lot more, progressive in a cultural aspect, relationship-based, and has phenomenally increased our performance over the last few years.
We look at the opportunity to give innovations that get brought back from each of the regions to the centre. So, for example, one of our regions was very keen to get into digital engineering, to really try to start to utilise BIM modelling for the development of some of their designs and models. We recognised that we had similar projects happening in the other regions, and so we were able to take some of the initial learnings from using digital engineering within one region and replicate that very rapidly around the other regions. So it really did give the opportunity to accelerate our learning and delivery approaches. For the global procurement strategy, was a huge innovation for the business and for a government organisation to take its pathway down. Originally, the commercial model for the program was that every individual project needed to be bidded by teams that had come together as a panel of contractors. Hugely inefficient and very traditional, I think, in terms of the way of thinking that the best way to deliver a project is the lowest price. We got to a position of determining if we get a great price and we get great performance, we're going to continue working with you. So the global procurement strategy was put in place to really provide a focus on excellence in contractor performance and excellence in pricing. And instead of everything working its way through having to be go to tender and be bid, even though they were incumbent teams, even though they were already on a panel that they'd fought to get onto, they still had to bid every project. We took that away, and so that about 80% of our work now is direct negotiation. So the teams that are incumbent within a region, we monitor their performance through KPIs on a daily basis. Team members, and this is another innovation, is that the entire KPI regime is primarily centred on lead indicators opposed to lag indicators. So how you've performed is interesting, but really we're looking at trying to hedge off and push away any potential issues early on. So that global procurement strategy, it was a challenge, getting that through with Treasury and our own internal governance, because again, still the mindset was there that you need those three prices to make sure you're getting the best price. And we've taken it into that position now where people understand it's about value. So the price is one aspect, and we've got a really good pricing database anyway. So we can do the own internal challenge against the suppliers. But we really take a holistic view about what does value mean for us from every one of our individual projects. Innovation in terms of training and development is another cornerstone of how we really do encourage the environment to be one of dynamic interaction and entertainment. We want people to enjoy their work. You're only here once, so let's make it a good time. So how can we recognise we've got an important service to provide? Let's make sure that we're enjoying the work while we're doing it. And especially training is a real key area, because people love to train, people love to be educated and love to have the opportunity to develop themselves. There's nothing worse than when training is delivered in a basic, monotone, and quite a lot of it, just by PowerPoint type of approach. So we try to bring in terms of developing people in terms of how our business processes operate and how our management operating system functions by gamifying our learning. So whether it's a case of teaching everyone how the project delivery processes work by using the battle was an approach that took everyone through their roles and responsibilities, or whether we move to something that's teaching people how a management operating system works and when you need to do your plan, do, check, act cycle by using La Brouhaha or Game of Moans were two great gamification simulations that we used that really took people out of their existing world and got them into a bit of a fun environment that was totally related to what their real world of work is, but in a much more dynamic and entertaining way of doing it. And the uplift that we've seen in terms of people's capability and desire and interest and willingness to use our new ways of working has been directly attributable to that way of educating and learning, which doesn't leave away that we don't do the 70-20-10 approach to learning as well. So most of it is on the job, 20% is by coaching, and 10% is by formal training.
I guess that inspiration that, oh my gosh, this is a fun place. It's not going to be just another boring, laborious 3-hour training session that we have to sit through, follow the bouncing ball to understand what we're doing. It was, they had involvement in it. They enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, it's the little things like that that have stuck and have created that fun, innovative culture.
And there are a wider degree of influences that we do take. We're not sat isolated from wider industry and other organisations. We do put a lot of effort into reaching out to see where latest developments and innovations and best practices can come from. So we're engaged heavily with the UK, with the Institute of Civil Engineers, a major projects association, for example, where even though we were recognised by major projects as an exemplar model for capital delivery, we did also engage with them with a group within the Institute of Civil Engineers called Project 13. And Project 13 is really an industry movement and initiative looking to establish what is the ideal framework or what is the best approach for infrastructure organisations to structure their commercial business, structure their delivery frameworks, and have in place their in-house teams working with the supply chain to best effect delivery of infrastructure. So it's been fantastic seeing and managing to work through and take a team forwards in terms of moving away from your old state traditional ways and coming forward into a world that's more dynamic, more engaging, a lot more fun to be in.
I'm surprised time and time again, actually, about the engagement scores that delivery management has compared to the rest of Sydney Water. Without a doubt, they're just they're through the roof. And I got today's latest ones and saw that they were up around 80-90%. So they're definitely doing something correct. But then we've got the right mechanisms in play as well for true engagement. So that's not only information coming from the top down, but it's coming from the bottom up. What I mean by that is we have a lot of mechanisms and channels in place. We've got Team Talk, which is about teams getting together on a monthly basis to ensure that they've got the information that they need, but they can also have access to the questions that they want. We've got Quarterly Connections, which is about our permanent staff and also our supply chain coming together and learning from each other, understanding what the priorities are on both sides, and actually, I guess, promoting innovation from that and sharing new ideas as well. And we've got things like the performance action meetings. So they are where our suppliers and our supply chain come in and they talk through basically, you know, the challenges they're facing, but also the opportunities that they've uncovered, and they share those across the regions. So really, you've got this whole of organisation focus, which is really driving best practice and outcomes for our customers.
So we kind of put in a fair bit of effort in trying to get the cultural shift within the team. You know, when we first commenced on our journey in 2013, we had individuals sitting on the same level at desks next to each other, for example, that didn't even know each other's names. So through a lot of, I guess, planned, targeted and identified efforts to make it a fun place to work, number one, to get people to know each other on a work and a social type of a basis, to get individuals to understand what other functions and groups within delivery management were doing. So that exposure and a lot of those activities that we kind of orchestrated really, really helped change and shift the culture and make it more an open, a fun, and a culture that individuals weren't concerned about, you know, stepping up and, you know, being shot down. But individuals and a lot of our staff members are very happy to, you know, they'll throw up an idea and if it's no good, we'll discuss it and back we go again to the drawing board. And they take that on board. So the cultural shift was absolutely planned and also successfully implemented.
They're not feeling constrained by traditional ways of working. They have the opportunity to think of new ideas and new innovations, and actually it gets listened to. It isn't seen as something that's too hard and too difficult to put a new idea in. If you think it's worthwhile and you think it's effective, put a case together, build the support for it, and we'll look to engage and work with you.
There's a set of initiatives, so 5 key initiatives for the business to focus on throughout the year ahead, throughout the next business plan, and they're allocated to different sponsors in the leadership team, but the working group that actually enables them, they're driven from the ground up. So whilst we sponsor and support them at a leadership level and remove any blocks that need to be kind of removed along the way, they're actually delivered by the people within the business who know the impact that that has on the business day to day and what's needed to make them work.
By having a centre of excellence and project management teams, each being professionals and each doing their own role, we've really seen the teams have come forward in terms of they hold each other to account. They might have service level agreements and measures that they have to perform and provide a service and to deliver their work. But it goes beyond that now. So the culture is one that you know, people feel pride in what they do. They're professionals in what they do, and they really do expect each other to perform.
It's definitely a team effort, both internally within the BSI team and even further outfield with all of the delivery management and all of our contractors and designers.
Because it's for the good of everybody that we see the whole team come together. So if one particular contractor has got an idea or has been performing well in one particular area, there's an open channel of engagement and communication that happen between these teams. And this also, you know, brings itself out into recently contractors were actually sharing equipment. So one that needed a crane for a particular job, they reached out and were offered a crane by a contractor from a different project. And that's pretty unusual to get these, you know, typically they're competing against each other. But in this environment, the team were recognising that, you know, it's not the crane sitting there on their site doing nothing, so they might as well lend it to this other contractor so they can use it and to continue with their project. And that's fantastic to get teams that are normally competing against each other to really having that passion and desire to help out and recognise that if the whole framework does well, everyone does well.
And from my perspective, that is an innovation. That is something that we have created within Sydney Water that I have not actually seen within the industry anywhere else, that you actually do have competing bodies clearly being able to share in an open and honest manner, and interested in everybody's, performance and everybody's achievements as a whole, as opposed to looking at just the me.
So I think through the development of the framework over the 5 years, we've really seen the businesses reaping the benefits and rewards of us taking this new approach. And some of the value that we've seen generated has been, we've been really proud of, really phenomenal. Whether it's from looking at the overall cost efficiency, so we've seen ourselves being 15% more cost efficient. So, it's taking some of the complexity out of the tendering process for the contractors, which means they're able to give us more sharper pricing, but equally because they have surety of work, they operate on this regional yours to lose basis. That means that if they understand if they're doing well, they're delivering well, they have a continuity of work, and that continuity of work again makes themselves more efficient. Being more efficient means a less cost business to operate, and those savings are passed on to us in terms of our delivery, which in turn is passed on to our customers. So they've seen lower customer bills as a result of us being 15% more efficient. We've also seen ourselves being 3 times more efficient in terms of what the team are able to output. So the size of the PMO is the same as it was 6 years ago. So we've gone from delivering 250 million a year with a team of around 200 to delivering 700 million a year with a team of 200. So we've tripled our output without any appreciable increase in terms of the headcount. And this has all been about more well redefined processes, professionals doing a professional job, and an environment that proactively engages and encourages and rewards integration and cooperation.
Like customer delivery, for example, and that was one of our massive challenges as well. It was a group that never kind of believed within delivery management being the deliverer of choice, and the journey that we went through with them, and it was their higher management actually acknowledging that hold on a second, we are delivering the program to cost and to time for the first time nearly ever in Sydney Water's history. Massive turning point.
The amount of work that's coming on this business is doubling in the next few years and will maintain for the next 20 years. So having a very efficient, effective delivery partner that can respond to the changing environment for Sydney and helps us deliver all the assets we need to in time, so that people's homes can be built at the right time, the population can be supported and is not held up by infrastructure. In fact, it's supported by good value, quality infrastructure. It's there on time and it's trusted. This model is what's helping us do that. And without this model, we couldn't do that.
We've got a model and a team that is able to generate better value and greater value to the greater Sydney region through its engagement with the supply chain, through its reach out to the customers, and being able to, we're really looking at the legacy that this is going to be able to provide as a new way of undertaking infrastructure delivery through Australia.